Recently, the Indian government, specifically the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, has solicited recommendations on guidelines for regulations on dark patterns. What are they and why do we need to think about them? A dark pattern, in UI UX specifically, refers to all behaviors and practices done to intentionally mislead a consumer from their actual purchase behavior or their intent on the platform. There are numerous examples of these dark patterns in UI UX which you yourself might be familiar with. Some of the common examples are false urgency, where a platform flashes information saying there are only 10 more of the products left and you need to buy right away. There is confirm shaming, where the platform might shame you into some actions. For example, I'm a cruel person and I don't want to donate to charity could be an option which they could highlight if you're not willing to click on it. There's also basket sneaking, where platforms intentionally add in things which you did not purchase and allow you to uncheck them or then add it to your thing. A lot of the dark patterns in UI UX take advantage of the fact that consumers have inherent biases and make decisions based on certain psychology. They're playing on consumers' ability or inability to focus on these aspects and therefore end up purchasing things that they normally would not purchase. The best thing to do is to regulate this behavior, as a lot of times consumers might enter into traps that they are not aware of. And in that regard, the Ministry of Consumer Affairs is playing a much needed role in taking the first step into regulating these practices. Such regulations are already in place in the EU, UK, and in the US, where different regulators are looking into these aspects and identifying behavior that can or cannot be pursued by people in the technology area. I think these regulations will enhance consumer welfare in the Indian market. On the flip side, some of these biases may be needed to induce decision making. These might be categories where it is important for the consumer to take actions and they may not be ready to make those calls. These could be things which are more long term. For example, if you're thinking about insurance or lifetime savings, most consumers tend to de-emphasize those factors and may not take it. So we must be proactive in figuring out how these regulations will affect consumers in different categories and when they should be allowed and when they should not be. Another illustration could be a situation where there is indeed a scarcity. You could be a small business operator who needs to sell those last 10 items. And it may not be wrong to identify and let the consumer know that there are only 10 left. So in my viewpoint, dark patterns in UI UX is definitely something of a concern. You as a consumer should be aware of it, but remember that these are biases that we often overlook. So government regulations are much needed, and I'm glad that we are on that path.